Alexa Lavoie for Rebel News, and today I'm revisiting the event that took place during the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa, as I have some new information that is important to share with you there, fellow Canadian. We have new exclusive internal RCMP document about how they tried to cover up the bad action of their member after the world saw what the RCMP members were saying in their private group chat on WhatsApp. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, on January 29, convoy of truckers from many parts of the country gathered in Ottawa near Parliament Hill to occupy the premise and demonstrate against vaccine mandate. This occupation, which lasted about 3 weeks, was dismantled after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoked the Emergency Act.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations.
This law gave him exceptional powers to freeze bank accounts, suspend vehicle registration, and use all police resources such as the RCMP, the OPP, and even the Sûreté du Québec in order to dismantle everything and evict all protesters and truckers from Ottawa. That is what I want to draw your attention to. On February 18 and 19, when the police force went into action, several protesters were injured during the intervention, including a lady, Candice Serro, who was trampled by one of the Monte's horse. Following the atrocity done to citizens that were provoked by the Prime Minister of Canada, message of a private discussion between members of the RCMP have been leaked. You can read the article that my colleague Sheila Gunn-Reid wrote about this on February 19. In these exchanges, many RCMP officers make fun of the injuries sustained by the protester and the lady who was trampled by one of their horses, with picture of them comfortably chilling at the Chateau Laurier Hotel in Ottawa. We recently filled an access to information request to find out what conversation the RCMP officers had after these discussions were leaked. In total, 165 pages of emailed and social media discussion were provided to us. In the document, we can read several discussions suggesting flagging every post that was made about them on social media, such as on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. They even went as far as to back up and delete nearly every post related to the RCMP officers involved on all social media platforms. There were many to score all the social network in an effort to flag content that concerned them. We can feel a certain anxiety and distress in their writing. While they were attempting to make a negative narrative about them, people had been portraying disappear from social media as much as possible. One RCMP member even went so far as to suggest that they should post a tweet later in the week with a message to counter what was being said about them. Noting that with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's announcement, things were moving quickly anyway. Pretty amazing, isn't it? A nice tactic to make the accusation against them disappear. They even went so far as to contact members of the media to cover up the information as much as possible. It's a good thing Rebel News was there to expose how these RCMP members behaved. Isn't not their job to protect the public and not to satisfy the demand of one man in power? The document reflects that the RCMP officers don't seem to care who gave the order that affected many individuals, but they seem very concerned about the identity of their members who were exposed in these discussions. They probably didn't want people to be recognized. We also see in the document several pages where they focus on a way to delete the Bell Let's Talk video. Obviously, they delete it from their side and from their platform. But I found the video in which you can see one of the RCMP officers involved. It's intriguing that Bell would use a member of the RCMP for a video that promotes helping people in distress. The same RCMP members who have been making fun of people in distress, some of whom have lost everything from their home and jobs to their families and friends and more, to mock not only the people distress, but also their injuries. It's extremely disturbing. Here is the video they tried to hide.
What do people impacted by mental illness look like? Like all of us. Mental health affects us all. Join the conversation.
I understand why it was a priority for them to try to make this hypocritical video go away. Do you remember when my colleague David Menzies and I went to the Ottawa Police press conference on February 20? David Menzies asked Chief of Police Steve Bell why I had been shot point blank while doing my job as a journalist. The police chief replied that he was not familiar with the incident that was mentioned. Here is the excerpt.
Good afternoon, Chief. David Menzies with Rebel News. Chief, can you kindly explain how it was that my colleague to my right here, Alexa Lavoie, was shot point blank with a tear gas canister, doing some very painful damage to her? What was the reason for that, given that she was simply practicing journalism in the public square?
So I'm unfamiliar with the incident you're speaking of. What I can tell you is that there is complaint mechanisms, there is review mechanisms that will be engaged following this for any use of force incident that occurred. I'll also say that it's been my observations and experience through the amazing extensive journalism coverage that's occurred through this, that the vast majority of our members have been extremely professional. They have executed an extremely methodical plan that has been focused on the safety of the residents, the safety of our officers, and the safety of the people engaged in the protest.
Yet, in the 165 page of document, an email was exchanged on February 20 around 11:15 a.m. between members of the RCMP with a tweet about what had happened to me, with my name and Rebel News mentioned. So how could the chief of police not have heard about it, especially since an entire RCMP team seems to have combat through everything about them and the Ottawa police? Let me be skeptical. They could have issued a press release following the leak to apologize to begin with and mention that punitive measure would be imposed. But instead, their tactic was to make the identities of the culprit disappear so that the public will not know who they are. How can the public be sure that these individuals who violated their code of ethics will be punished for what they have done? Thank you very much. This was Alexa for Rebel News. So as you know, at Rebel News, we are doing a lot of access of information. So if you want to help us with the cost that bring to us for doing that and doing some investigation on the story, you can do some at rebelinvestigate.com, and on this website, you can donate generously. Thank you very much.